start recording, I guess. So today's project today is a bit of a, I messed that up. Welcome to Scrapbook Live. I'm Megan Jax. This is January 18th edition of Scrapbook Live. And we have a project from the Creative Memories blog. It is from July 9th of 2019. It was using the Citrus Summer Collection, but what I really liked was this waterfall effect they have with the Peekaboo pockets. So we're going to talk about Peekaboo pockets, and I'll show you how you actually put them on the page. So you can get this off of my website, the handout. There is also a link to the original blog post. The QR code here will take you to the blog post. From my blog post, there is a link back to the Creative Memories blog. I do kind of recommend looking at that. The directions here, there's a lot of them. They talk about it all in words, but there's a couple additional pictures. I mean, as we go through putting this together, the video will show a lot of it too, as we're assembling it, but there are some additional photos on there that might be helpful as you're putting things together. So, like I said, you can find it in the first comment on this live. If you're watching this on YouTube later, it'll be in the description below. So let's go ahead. I'm going to switch over to my tabletop and we'll get started on today. All right, so I have some photos. I decided I was going to do some pictures from Cody's 8th birthday. So that was just this November. So while I was in the airport, I was working on figuring out what I was going to do. And I said, well, I'll just do these photos. I can figure it out. I printed them out this morning on my little Epson. I did cheat a little bit. I made some collages. These were phone photos, so you could just use an app on your phone to make some collages. I use an app called PixArt. I use that because I can do a few other things that I am able, I like that app on, I have an Android, so I like that app on there. I do pay for a premium version, but something like this, you'd be able to do, I think you can do this with the unpaid version. The other one you can also check out if you want to do collages on your phone is something like the Project Life app. That's a good one for making some 4x6 collages. So I have some of those. It's going to let me just max out the number of photos I have on here. And then I printed out some other ones, pretty much sticking to the guidelines that they talk about in here for all of the photo sizes. So you'll see I have my photos already mostly cropped. We're going to have a couple that are going to go inside a Peekaboo pocket, and this is completely, I'll have to fix that. So I have all my photos ready to go. And what I decided to do is obviously birthday. So I'm going to stick with the birthday party time theme. And I'm using the party time blues. One of the reasons is it's just going to let that yellow, he's had this bright yellow shirt, there was some red in the wrapping paper. That's all just going to pop off the page really nicely. So what I went with is I'm going to use the blue cupcake paper here, and that's going to be my background page. I will cut out the middle of it because I can use the opposite side, I can use to make some mats. So I'm going to cut that piece out. There's a tonal blue that just says happy birthday all over it. It's actually from the Party Time Brights pack. It has the bright cupcakes on the back, but this is going to be kind of my tonal background that they use for the black. Now, one of the things they do is you can see in the original layout here, well, maybe you can see, but if you printed the handout, you'll see there is a decorative edge at the top and the bottom. They detail how to do that in step 2, but it uses the lace trim border punch. That's this decorative print, border here. I am not using that border punch, so I am actually just going to be skipping all of step 2, because that is how they made the black background here that has this decorative edge. I am not going to do that. What I've done over here is told you, you can just make an 11-inch square, and that's what I'm going to be doing here with this paper. I'm just going to trim this down to an 11-inch square. You could, if you wanted some decoration on that background, you could trim it out with a decorative blade if you wanted to give yourself a little bit more added attention. So just keep that in mind there. The other thing that we have going on, or they have in this, they use some 3 different colors of paper. They use some red and aqua cardstock. You can see that there in the Peekaboo pockets that flip up. Also over here in the the photo mats. And then there was a tonal piece of green that was part of the Citrus Summer collection that they use here as well. So what I've got going on, I'm not using any cardstock. What I'm going to be doing instead is I've just got some tonal papers. You can see I grabbed this one. It's actually the back side is the cupcake. So I'm going to have some remnants of this from my background paper that I can maybe use, but I have a sheet here that I can grab if I need more. I really like this craft paper. It's actually not from Party Time. It matches the craft in Party Time, but it's actually from the Silver and Gold collection. I think it's in the silver and gold, just the regular papers, not the foil paper. And then of course there is this, it's white with light blue polka dots on it. The opposite side is this blue and white stripe. So one of the things to consider here when we're doing our peekaboo pockets, all of these peekaboo pockets will flip up. And when they're using cardstock, this color is the same on both sides, obviously. So when you flip this first peekaboo, or the red, where it has the red here, and you flip that up, it's gonna be red on the back side. Since I'm not using cardstock, I needed to be aware of what the back side of my papers are. They won't really be seen from the front, but when you start flipping through all the pieces, you'll see those. So I just wanna make sure that they're not gonna look bad. And I think they're going to be fine. I actually don't think I'm going to need to use the back side. I only need 2 pieces that working from the back side, the craft and this light polka dot, the light blue, the white with the small blue dots. And I think those are all going to be just fine. So a little bit crazy there with having to think, you know, if you're using cardstock, it's much easier. I'm not using cardstock because I didn't really have maybe the best cardstock options that go with this. I don't know. I probably could have made it work using cardstock, but I'm already committed to this. I pulled these papers, so we're going to go with this. So just reviewing through here all the pieces that we're going to need. You're going to need a couple of peekaboo pockets, and you're going to need a punch. So I initially in the photo, I told you guys when I previewed it on my Facebook page, I said I was going to use a zebra stripe. I hemmed and hawed on this. You could use, I mean, I love the ribbon trim, the lace trim punch they use, but doesn't really work for my little guy's birthday photos. And I thought, oh, I'll use a current punch. And I thought maybe the zebra stripe would work well. One of the things is you can see here, you can kind of see through these punch pieces here, and behind there is going to be, you know, the color behind, or maybe the photo might stick through a little bit. So I was really worried about having anything that has too big of an opening. So that's something to keep in mind, how you're going to see through the peekaboo pocket to the next layer down. So what I needed is either something that had really small holes or something that I could fill in. So my thought is using this. You can see the other side, I could weave some paper through it. Okay. But then I got to thinking, and I really decided, I think I'm going to use Cloud. This is a retired Border Maker cartridge. I do have a few left in stock if you guys are desperate to have one. If you don't have one, it's one of my favorite. It's very versatile. What I like about it for this case, you won't be able to see through it. It just decorates the edge with kind of that fluffy cloud effect. But what's great about it is it's gonna match the cupcakes, right? It kind of has that little bit of that cupcake, the fluffy frosting look. So I decided I'm gonna go with Cloud. And then also I don't necessarily have as much see-through that I have to worry about. Of course, a little bit of edging at the bottom where you're gonna see that cloud edging, but I think it's gonna be fine. And then I'll be able to lay a sticker over it, just how they show you using that the multicolored dots. So I'm going to use Cloud. So I'm sorry if I misled you and told you I'm going to use zebra stripe. I'm going to use Cloud. And you can mix and match. I could use zebra stripe and Cloud. There's really nothing saying that I have to just use one. You can see here they have the 3 showing. You could use 3 different Border Maker border punches if you wanted to. So I'm going to use Cloud for that. So I think we've talked enough kind of getting things started. Let me go ahead and dive into actually putting this together. So the background, I already mentioned, I am going to cut out the back piece. I'm going to cut it just a 1-inch frame. We've done this before. So I'm going to come here with my trimmer and I'm just going to cut that 1 inch frame out, line it up at 1 inch, and I'll cut from 1 inch to 1 inch. And there is a ruler on the edge here. And of course, I am lining it up with this white line on the blade housing. So line it up on 1 inch on my trimmer bed, and I'll cut from 1 inch to 1 inch to 11 inch. And I'll just keep going all the way around. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. This is just a paper saving. It also can help reduce the bulk in your albums, especially if you're using a cardstock. It takes out that extra bit of weight. Okay, so there, now I'll be able to use the reverse side for mats. Next up, I mentioned that we would not be doing step 2 because step 2 involves the ribbon trim punch, or excuse me, the lace trim border punch, and the way you punch it, and because they're using that decorative bits of the lace trim punch. I am not. So what I'm doing is I'm coming over here and I'm making an 11-inch square. So sorry, it's really tiny. I'm going to make this, I'm going to trim this down to 11 inches. You could use your decorative blade if you want to. Give yourself all 4 sides. Give yourself a little bit of some oomph there. You have those blades, you can use them. I'm going to go just with a straight blade. So I'm trimming this 11 by 11. And then I'm going to adhere this into place. And I forgot to get out I had to get all my stuff out of traveling. I had it all in I took my rolling case with me. It worked out really well. I don't know if you guys have traveled with your rolling bags from the Creative Memories rolling bag. My hint to you, or my recommendation, is you don't put anything in the very, very front, a smaller pocket. Especially if you are going to put it in the overhead compartment. Depending on your plane, it doesn't always fit in there really well with that overhead bin. The plane last night I was on, it was fine. It was a newer plane and they've made it so that there's a little bit more space in those overhead bins. But the plane that I took out to Indianapolis, it definitely would not have fit. And I flew a smaller plane to Anaheim last summer with my rolling cart, and I had trouble. I had put my personal trimmer in there, and it was a very, very tight squeeze. So this time I didn't put anything. I think I put a couple tape runner refills in there. So hopefully, are you guys still able? I'm seeing one comment, something about my audio. Are you guys still able to hear me? Just going to get a quick check-in from everybody. So hopefully my audio is still doing well. So right now, I've got my background on here, and good. I'm glad you guys can hear me. I've got my background on here now. So now we can kind of start to imagine how this is going to look, right? I like to figure, I've got one Peekaboo pocket already set to go. I've got a photo here. He's there with his sister. My oldest child's away at college, so it's just one sibling in these photos. That's how it's going to go, kind of in life these days. We're entering that phase of life where the kids are starting to eventually slowly leave the nest. So you can see how this is starting to go together. So now you're going to imagine I'm going to have another Peekaboo pocket that I'm going to be filling up with some stuff, and it'll get layered in here. And there's a total of 3 Peekaboo pockets. So I'm using the horizontal flaps, and then we'll have another one that lays down there. And then ultimately, there's going to be a 4x6 image. It'll be on the background with a little bit of a decorative edge here at the bottom. So when we get going and we fill these Peekaboo pockets up, I need to fix that one, but you can see they'll flap up and we'll have all of that photo goodness in there. So now it's time to start. I think we're going to fill our Peekaboo pockets, because that's going to, after we fill our Peekaboo pockets, then that's really going to allow us to get everything else positioned on the page. the measurements that they give us and the spacing that they give us was designed with lace trim, and that's not the punch I'm using. So I am using, I'm going to be using cloud. So I may have some different sizing that I need to keep in mind. So we're going to be moving on to, they have us doing step 4. I'm going to skip that for now, and I'm going to move on to step 5. Because step 5 is where I'm putting my stuff in my Peekaboo pockets. All right. Step 5 is we're making our 2 Peekaboo pockets that have the decorative edging in the inside. The very first Peekaboo pocket is just one 4x6 image. You flip it up and there's another. Mine is in here backwards. Like I said, I use a PixArt is the name of the collage app I used. You can also try using the Project Life. So when this will flip up and there's just some more photos. So step 5, I need to use my 2 pieces that I'm going to be using for my, and I think I'm using the, this white with the polka dots, and I'm using the craft. So I'm going to start with the craft, and I need to go ahead and use the border maker system. And I'm going to put the cloud in my cartridge holder. This craft paper is non-directional on both sides. I don't need to worry about which side I'm punching. With the next one that has the stripe on the back, I will. So I'm going to go ahead and punch down the edge with cloud. And then it wants me to trim this at 6 inches, or excuse me, 4 inches. So I need to trim this 4 inches. This is my 4 inches that's going to go ultimately in my Peekaboo pocket. So this is going to be the bottom edge of my Peekaboo pocket where you have that cloud detail. And then coming up here, this is the top of my Peekaboo pocket. So it's going to be 4 inches because I'm using a 4x6 Peekaboo pocket. And then I can cut this at 6 inches. 6 inches wide to go on my Peekaboo. So if you're using a decorative paper, you're actually going to have 2. If I wanted to, I could just flip it over and I could use the other side. And then when I open it up, I could have 2 craft pieces. But I'm just using one. I'll save this for another project. Peekaboos, you could do this when you use just a regular Peekaboo. There's no reason, you don't have to do this with the waterfall effect. So you could save this for another Peekaboo project, or you could just save it as scrap. I might use it for when I'm making some embellishment details. So here's one, and I need to do the second one. This one, I am concerned about the stripes. I want my stripes going up and down. I want my cloud edge to be here. The opposite side, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to punch with this side up because I want to punch with my stripes so that when you are looking at it, you see the stripes going vertical. So I'll be punching with the stripes horizontal, and then when it rotate everything, those stripes will be vertical. All right. So once again, I'm going to trim this at 4 inches. 4 inches. And this is going to be, and then I trimmed it 4 inches tall. Now I need to trim it to 6 inches wide. Both of these are my decorative pieces for my Peekaboo pocket. So now you can imagine those are going to go inside my Peekaboo pockets, but I need to put on well, first of all, I kind of need to figure out what order they're going to go in. So I'm going to grab my background, move my stuff kind of to the side. I need to still mat those photos. I'll do that in a little bit. This photo is going to be at the very bottom. And then I will have a bit of peekaboo. Like you won't see it, right? It's going to be covered up. So I'll have to figure this out. The assembly part of this was definitely a little interesting. I may have to trim my bottom photo a little bit. We'll see. I think it's going to go like this, and then the very bottom edge where they show the green, I need to come in and make with the light blue. I only need a 6-inch piece of a small 6-inch wide, maybe an inch tall piece. They talk about it in the, well, they want you to do in step 4. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. In step 4, they want me to punch. I would use the same piece here. And then you actually cut it in half and you work it into the middle section. So I'll go ahead and go back to my full 12-inch piece here. And I'm going to go ahead and punch a cloud border with this kind of light blue star. Looks like a little asterisk. And then you punch it at 1.5 inches. Or excuse me, you punch it and then cut it at 1.5 inches. So that's step 4, 1.5 inches. Oh, and then I need to cut it at 6 inches. I'm going to go ahead and put this extra piece up with my other pieces. The directions will have me coming back to using it, but that's just going to keep it organized for me so I know where it is. Kind of dry fitting some pieces in here. It goes something, it's going to look something about something like this. And then of course you have this top peekaboo pocket comes in like such. All right. So that's kind of what we're going for. Those pieces there. So it kind of has that ice cream, the ice cream, the frosting on the cupcakes, that little bit of a bit there. And then of course they do show us using some borders. So I have some border options left in this strip. I either have this dark blue, it's kind of wavy, or I'll have the confetti. The confetti is kind of light and I have 2 lighter colors. So I think I'm going to go with the dark blue, but we'll see. So now it's time to come back to our peekaboo pockets and start putting those in there. So the first peekaboo pocket, this one here, that I've got photos in the very first one. So the second one is this light blue, or excuse me, the white with the blue dots. The backside is a stripe. That is the red one, corresponds to the red. So I'm going to come back down to where they talk about it, and they want me to mount a 6 by 2 3/4 photo to this. I have some photos that when I printed them, I made them, they're 6 inches wide. They're both 3.5, 3.25 inch tall. But like you can see here, it's a little, for that one, it's a little, maybe a little too much. And I think that's why on the front flaps here, I need to leave more space, because remember, I'm going to put that sticker. So I need to come in, I'm actually going to trim this one down to that 2 3/4. I knew I would have some room for this one to trim it downwards. This is definitely a little bit more of a complex layout. I thought it would be fun to put together because I've liked it since I remember it coming out on the blog and I really liked it. So I wanted to put it together, but it's definitely a little bit more complex, especially when you're not necessarily following it exact, making some adjustments. So now when I put this on here, now you can see how I have all that space at the bottom? That's what I wanted. When I flip this one up to show the back side, the directions here now actually have me putting in some journaling detail, because they talk about it says flip the red piece up so the lace trim is on the top and adhere a 5 by 3/4 inch piece of white dot pattern paper. That what I've done, I don't have white dot pattern paper. I mean, I could come in with the white dots here, but I want to be able to journal on it. And so what I've done is I cut some journal pieces. So I'll have a nice big journal box that will be like this. All right. Now you do not have to use, I actually think I'm going to have to trim this down. They had this to, yeah, part of me says it's going to be too tall. See, I don't have enough space here at the bottom. I think this bottom piece actually needs to be closer to that 2 and 3/4. So I'm going to actually trim this down to 2 and 3/4. I don't need all that space to journal anyway. And I think what I'll do is I'll trim the top as well to 2 3/4. So it'll look like that. Okay, now what I'll do is flip this up, and now I have room, because I don't need to decorate the back side of this. I have room for that, this photo here of him opening gifts. So I really hope this is kind of making sense. You see how I'm building what's going into those peekaboo pockets. So now what I can do is this craft peekaboo pocket. I've got all 3 components. The front side is going to actually have a journaling spot. When I flip it up, it's going to be a photo. So I can put these pieces on. I'm not 100% sure on this journal piece yet. All right, so I'm just going to use a little bit of repositionable adhesive to tack it into place. I will come back and put it down permanent once I am certain. First of all, once I'm certain that the sizing is good, and second of all, once I have not messed up actually journaling on it. And I'll put the this one is the 3.5 or 3 1/4. It can be a little bit taller because it's the flip up part. So there's a peekaboo pocket. This is my other peekaboo pocket. I've got a photo that's going to go at the top. I am going to tack it into place. If I needed to, I could still trim a little bit more. I've got some room here at the top if I want to trim. So I'm just going to do a light tack on it. Make sure my spacing looks good. And I'll come back and put more adhesive on it once I say, yep, it all looks perfect. And then the back side, of course, that stripe has the journal paper. And again, I'm just going to use a light bit of tack at the bottom with the repo. I do want these to give that effect of a split journal box. So I'll line them up like that. Okay. Now, real quick, I'm going to cut these mats because these are driving me nuts that I don't have them. I just want to get them in place. Want to get those in place. So we're just going to do a quick, get those done. So what I have here, this is what I'm going to see, right? This is kind of the effect we're going for. This waterfall. I will have some space here at the top to add in a title, embellishment. You can kind of see that my spacing here is a little bit maybe tighter than the other. So that's just something I have to keep in mind. It's just the nature. I use a different punch. You always have to make those little adjustments. Gives me a little bit more space here at the top, maybe to do a little bit more embellishment. But I still need to get these photos down. And for those, this photo here is 3 3/4 wide by 5 1/4 or 5 1/4 tall. Oh, I'm just looking. Oh, yeah. So it's 5 1/4 tall. So it needs to be 5 1/2. And I think I'm going to use some craft paper. I'll mat one in craft, this one up here. So that's the one that's going to be 4 by 5 1/2, 4 inches wide, 5 1/2 tall. And then the bottom one that's right here, I think I'll come over to that remnant. This is my inside square remnant. It's 4 wide. This is the smaller photo, so it needs to be 4 1/4. These are all off the handout. These photos on this side here are all the same measurements that are on the handout. But I managed to still not do that right. 5 1/2. Nope. Okay, let's see here. By 4 1/4. So I don't have something measured right. Oh, because this photo's too tall. That's my problem. Oh, it's supposed to be 4 inches. This photo here is only supposed to be 4 inches tall, and it's not. I have it set to, it is not quite 4 1/4. So I'm going to trim off and get it down to 4 inches. That's the problem. There, that's much better. Get those put on. And yeah, apparently I am not good at measuring. This was supposed to be 5 1/4 and I made it 5 1/2. Now, guys, I printed these off like really early this morning. And so I think that was my problem. I printed them. I got up, took a shower, came downstairs and, was trying to print these things out. And there we go. Obviously, I could not type in the right numbers. I like to call it jet lag, but I think when you go from east to west, it's actually not too bad. I was really tired last night when I got home, though. It was very much like, I'm going to bed. We'll see you all in the morning. All right, so there's those photos. I'm going to tack them into place. When I tack things into place, I usually just put a couple of repositionable little things in the very middle. That way, if I have to move up or down, I don't have in the corners. And if I moved it down, maybe I've lifted some of my ink there off of my printed paper. But I want to get those into place. So then when I'm working over here, these aren't sliding around. Okay. So now it's time to start working over on this side. Now this gets to be a little bit tricky because I need to put some things here on the bottom, and then ultimately we're going to be sliding this in to our page protector before we actually put our peekaboos on. So I've got to set it up. I've got to get this first piece down, what goes actually on the page, because the only stuff that's going to be on the page when I put it into my page protector is going to be, it's going to look like this, plus the embellishment detail up here at the top, the title. Everything else goes on after I put it in the page protector. So I've got this going on, and I think I'm going to go ahead and put these in their respective peekaboo pockets. So I'm just sliding them in. Because that's what I was thinking. See, you can see here, I'm seeing this stick out at the top. So when I open it up, yeah, I don't want, I'm going to trim this image here. This was set to be a 4x6, and I'm pretty certain that's what they told me to, yeah, adhere one strip, step 4, adhere one strip just underneath a 4x6 photo. And I think my photo is just, it's probably because I'm using the clouds. I trimmed it down just a little bit because basically I need my Peekaboo pocket to cover it up. My Peekaboo is going to cover that up. I'm actually going to trim it a little more. I want my clouds to sit completely over it. There we go. That should be fine. And then I can come in here with my next Peekaboo pocket. Let's see. And my next Peekaboo pocket is going to come in like this. No. It goes like this. I may have put my photos on the wrong. No, I wanted the craft to be between the two colors. I think I can tack these into place. I'm going to go ahead and put these into place. I wanted to use regular adhesive or repo adhesive there, but I'm using regular. It's okay. Getting these put on there. Okay. All right, so those are in place. So now the next one that's going to come in is going to be this piece right there. And then my next Peekaboo pocket will be like such. So when I flip this up, I will have the journaling. It's not going to be tucked right next to each other. One of the things that we could do, and this is what they actually have us do, if you look at the additional photos here in the layout, when you flip up, I believe it is between the red and the aqua, they actually put the other half of that border, they came in like with this. I don't know that I'm going to put the border there. Or I don't know if I'll put this piece there. I actually might cut, they have this really cute banner paper. I might put a little bit of banner paper in there between. I don't know. I'm going to leave that for now. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll come back and figure out where these all go. So, because I need that to cover up there. And then my final Peekaboo pocket will just sit on here to cover up the thing. So you can see there I also have the space that I could come in with that banner paper. All right, so there's what it's gonna look like. I'll have all the space at the top to come in and add some additional details. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have those details figured out yet because I kind of needed to get it put together to see how much space I was truly gonna have. So what I wanna do though is I do wanna show you about putting in the peekaboo pockets there on your layout. Really quick though, what I am gonna do is I'm gonna grab a quick measurement with a ruler to give myself an idea of how much space here. I look like I'm gonna have, I'm gonna say maybe 3/4 of an inch. So let me come to this paper. What does it look like if I cut a 3/4 inch banner? I'm gonna cut a 3/4 inch banner piece, 2 of them that are 3/4 inch. I'll trim it to 6 inches in just a second. These banner pieces, and I'm going to cut them to 6 inches wide. And I'll be able to use those if I want for some opening spaces between those peekaboo pockets. Now these ultimately have to be mounted to the inside. So it's a little bit tricky maybe to figure out where they go. Now I use top loading pages. So I'm just gonna grab one here. I use the top loading pages. This is from an older pack, so it has the white cardstock inside of it. If you order these right now, they're coming with different colors of cardstock inside. So this is from an older pack. These are, when you need to order things, you need to stock up on stuff. Top loading pages is what I stock up on. I could have left that piece in there if I wanted to, but I went ahead and just pulled it out. So I think before I do that, I am going to try to guesstimate where I need to put. So here's the top edge. I think I need to have one of those 3/4 inch strips right here. So I'm going to tack it again. I'm just tacking it. I'm using just a little bit of repo adhesive there and just going to tack it. It goes about right there, just at the top of that photo. Oops. All right. Now my next piece is going to sit about right here. And then I'll have another peekaboo pocket that's offset. So I need to have a strip right here at the top of this peekaboo pocket. So I can come in here. You could probably leave your background. I mean, I could have. It just says happy birthday. That would have been perfectly acceptable to leave there if I wanted to. Yeah, I think that's going to work out well. Okay. So I've got those 2 pieces put into place. They're just tacked in. I can adjust them. Everything's just kind of tacked on. And that being said, I need to be careful when I put this in my pocket. You may not do this step until you're completely done, but I want to show you it as part of the video today. So I've got everything in here. I'm going to actually end up moving these photos over just a titch that direction to give myself more of an even on both sides. But what I do here is I've got my page protector on. I'm using the the top loading pages, and now I've got my flap. There is a thin, it's hard to see, but it's there, plastic covering over the adhesive. All right, so I'm going to pull that adhesive. And remember, I'm working on the page protector. I'm not on the page itself, on the paper. I'm working on the page protector. For top loading, I've made sure I'm down here snug at the bottom. And then I'm just going to come in here and put this on. I'm going to turn it to the side. And normally I would work, well, I need to cover up the bottom. That's my big thing here. I want to make sure I'm covering up the bottom. So I'm actually going to do this way. I've double checked here at the bottom that I've covered, and I've adhered that on. So you can see when that flips up. I probably should have trimmed a little bit more off of my 4x6 photo. You can see here that I have this, but I can still do that if I want to. I could still come in here, trim some of that some of this photo and slide down my stuff, but probably won't worry about it because this one's going to be fine. Yeah, I'm a little off on my placement of these. But again, I'm coming here to the bottom. I'm lining it up here rather than trying to line up at the top because I'm more concerned about that border covering the elements below it. So there you can see, and you can see here, I do need to make some adjustments to that piece. It needs to come up just a little bit. And then this final piece will get put in place just to cover the bottom edge of that photo. You don't obviously have to do the waterfall technique is a little bit more advanced with the Peekaboo pockets. It would not be, if it's your first time using Peekaboo pockets, don't let this scare you. They truly are super easy to use, especially if you're staying more basic with it and just doing a basic flap. Or if I had a 4x6 here, I'd put this on, open it up, and now you can see all these photos. The waterfall technique is just a little bit different. Once again, I'm just trying to make sure I cover that bottom edge. So there we've got all the pieces on. And you can see I definitely need to move up those pieces. So let me slide this out a little bit. And this one needed to come up a solid almost a solid inch. Oops, too high though. Half an inch is what it needed to come up. So I appreciate you guys sticking around with me on this. It's been a little bit of an interesting, a little more complicated of a layout to put together. I think what I needed, I cut that 3/4 of an inch. I think I could come in and actually cut it at a full inch. And I think that's really what I need to do. I'm going to recut some of these. I'm going to cut them at an inch. I think if I cut them at an inch, I will have better results between those. Let's see here. Yep. Still using some repositionable adhesive. Oops. They need to be only 6 inches wide. I forgot to trim them back down. There we go. And we'll trim the other one to 6 inches. You could definitely try this. Somebody's asking about doing this without the Peekaboo. You're not going to have that waterfall effect, and you would just maybe stack your photos. I don't know of any other way to accomplish this without using Peekaboos. It would just be a, kind of a standard one-page layout. It's not to say that you can't do it. Just, put your pieces in place and, but the kind of the feature, the showcase feature of this particular layout is the Peekaboo aspect of the waterfall of the Peekaboos. So there we go. We can see there's my banners, flip up, and there's my banners again. So yeah, I probably could have left this at that 6 inches or the 4 inches tall, because that would have come to the top of that peekaboo. So little things, it's not a big deal. It's something that I'll notice, and other people may not. So that's kind of how that all comes together. I think I just need to do, I'm going to adjust these photos on this side and just bring them in a little bit more to the off the edge. Give myself just a little bit more of a uniform border all the way around. So yeah, Julie's commenting I could just have made a 6-inch mat for it to sit in, and that is true. You could definitely come in. There's probably some other ways to make it have come together a little bit easier. It's kind of the benefit of you guys getting to watch me put it together, is you can maybe see those little things that was like, oh, well, if I do this, it'll work out a little bit better. I have to kind of put things together in theory in my head before I get started. Okay, so there we go. Well, something is this photo I think here at the top is off. There we go. Something was not straight. And then I will come in here and I'm going to add some details up here. I'm not sure what I'm going to add yet. That was honestly one of those things I was focused on getting this part done to show you how this works. This is pretty straightforward, but we've got our peekaboos in here. I could add some journaling and we're all set to go. All right. So that is pretty much today's Scrapbook Live. I will put together, I'll finish out this top, and you guys can have those, probably get that all shared later, a little bit later this afternoon. So thank you so much. That was a full hour trying to get that one together, but it is a little bit more of a technique thing. And once you kind of figure out how the Peekaboo pockets work, honestly, the waterfall can be done without worrying about that decorative edge. That's kind of the little bit of the part here that was hard, is just getting that decorative edge to work correctly. The one thing left in here I do need to do is figure out if I want to add a sticker detail. On the original, you can see where they added that multicolored sticker across there. I could definitely do that if I wanted to. I've got to think about it. I've got a ton of border stickers, so I may go back through and see if I can find something that's a little bit narrower. Maybe what's left of the party time stickers are a little bit thicker and larger. And maybe I want something that's a little bit more thin, not quite as overwhelming, just a little bit of oomph without necessarily so much eye catching detail. So I'll get all that done and I'll share with you the results as part of when I share it later this afternoon on Facebook. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the final result. It was on the original cover screen of the video, and it'll also be at the very end. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching, sticking with me on this one. Next week, I will admit I'm not 100% certain. I have an appointment early in the morning on Wednesday next week. It was the only time I could get something scheduled before the end of the week or end of the month. And so I am not 100% sure that I'm going to be up for doing Scrapbook Live on Wednesday next week. So I'm trying to figure out if I might bump it to Thursday. But I also have another appointment on Thursday. It's crazy. January has turned into one of those months where it's just a little bit of craziness. So I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to have Scrapbook Live. It likely will not be next Wednesday morning. I don't know. Maybe we'll try for an evening time. I need to look at my calendar and see what I've got available and catch some of you on the evening side of things. So be on the lookout. Just know that when I do get that out there, it will probably be a little bit of a different timing. So you'll want to set your calendars a little bit differently, or let Facebook, just add it to your Facebook calendar, and Facebook helps you out, reminding you what events. And of course, you can always catch things on the recording. So if you can't watch live, I completely understand, and you just catch it on the recording and, have a chance to tune in. If you guys do have a chance to put this together, please share. I'd love to see it. You can share it into Scrapbooking with Megan. That would be fantastic. Carla is asking whether I could do it on Tuesday. Maybe. It's a pretty quick I don't know. I don't want to say it's a quick turnaround, but that is an option. I am keeping that as an option too on Tuesday. In my mind, I have something going on Tuesday, but I need to look at my calendar and see. Next week should be borders. And I know everybody loves borders. I don't want to miss borders. And so maybe we will just do it Tuesday, but no guarantees right now. It'll be up on the calendar here in the next day or two so we can figure out for sure. All right. Thank you again, everyone, for watching. And I will definitely see you all next week. Just quick reminders, Creative Memories right now has the secret box available. So you can check that out online. You can order it, and we'll open it all up as part of the February virtual crop. That's going to be coming up in the second Friday, starting the second Friday of February. And they just launched some new storage and the Serenity collection. We will have, Tessa and I are going to do the Serenity collection as part of the next PageMaker. So be looking for that event and the registration for that to be coming soon. All right, everybody take care. Have a fabulous rest of your week. I hope you guys are all having better weather than we are. It's very dark and cloudy and rainy today here in Seattle. So hopefully we'll get some sunshine popping through in the next day or two. All right, we'll see you all soon. Thanks.